radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
Persons with disabilities value many of the same subjects considered important by others in the society. With the National Disability Act and the elections in Nigeria, there is no better time than now to be intentional about building an inclusive society for all.
All right, thanks for joining us once again. It's a fantastic afternoon, 18th May 2023. Welcome to the Disability Rights Initiative Project program on radio. And today we're going to look at something very important, myths and misconceptions about disability. But just to let you know that the Disability Rights Initiative radio program is a monthly radio discussion program brought to you by Faecare Foundation. They had their first edition. I don't know if you listened that fantastic Thursday. And this program is supported by Disability Rights Fund as part of Disability Rights Initiative Project with the aim of promoting and advancing disability rights. Now, Faecare Andrew Essien Care Foundation, better known as Faecare Foundation, is an organization with a vision to add value to the lives of target vulnerable groups in our society and communities, being orphans and vulnerable children, persons with disabilities, PWDs, youth, and the less privileged in society. Through a variety of organization-led programs and partnerships for over 9 years, that's close to a decade. Now, in fact, 10 years this year. They've also provided steps, gap support for these target vulnerable groups, for PWDs. They have also empowered persons with disabilities, especially women with disabilities, through different empowerment and capacity building programs. They have pushed to enhance social inclusion for PWDs and continue to advocate for better policies and disability rights. And that's why we're having a program like this. And we have the Executive Director of Faecare Foundation join us on the program. And she also has other, I'm very fortunate, in the midst of these fine, beautiful ladies. Thank you for joining us, Faecare. Good to have you once again.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
All right, so we'll kickstart from the beginning. Maybe you can do a rundown of probably what we did last week within 120 seconds, and then before we'll hop into this new edition.
So, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be on Today FM with you, Lucky Maxwell. So, my name is Faecare Andrew Essien, and last month we started DRIP, Disability Rights Initiative Program, as part of Disability Rights Initiative Project, brought to you by Faecare Foundation and supported by DRF. One of the things that we focused on in the first episode was giving a framework, giving a foundation, understanding disability. And in that conversation, we defined what disability was, and we took it beyond the WHO definition where it stops at an impairment or a health condition, and we took it on and expanded it using the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities definition, where we talked about how the impairment in interacting with the environment, among other factors, could cause disablement for a person with an impairment. We went ahead to talk about who a person with disability is, what causes disability beyond just physiological and anatomical, and we also really described the disablement processes. When we talked about how an impairment interacts with maybe an environmental factor like a barrier, a structure, and how that can be disabling, as opposed to when there is accessibility and the person is able to go in on equal basis with everybody. So we're able to do that foundation. We talked about types of disabilities, and it was really nice to be able to lay that foundation, because there is no advancing of disability rights without understanding disability. And I'm hoping English terms, but we know what a myth is. A myth is something that you perceive to be true but is untrue. A misconception is an ideology or an idea or something you think is but is not. So when it comes to disability, there are many misconceptions, and I will take some and then I'll allow the guests or my other ladies to say some. But the first one I would like to talk about is disability, people think the disability is a curse. So you did something wrong and God is punishing you with disability. So people perceive a lot of, we're a religious society, very spiritual. So the thought when it comes to disability is that you did something, or your forefathers or somebody did something somewhere, and you have been afflicted by disability. So that is a misconception. It is not true. In rare cases it may be so, whatever, but it is not. Disability is not a curse. Why am I saying this? Because I've had a personal experience because I have an acquired disability from when I was a young adult through an accident, and I remember one of the solutions that was suggested to my parents was like, we have to come and confess all our sins, man. So that's number one. Disability is not a curse. People also think that persons with disabilities, because of what they see, are not they're not of sound mind, or that they don't understand you. So what happens is that when a person engages with a person with disability, the tendency to want to talk to the person beside that individual is always strong. Happens too many times. And I remember going to the airport, and the driver took me to the airport, and then the person who was supposed to assist with my boarding pass was busy, so seriously talking to the driver, whose business was to drop me at the airport and knew nothing about my itinerary. And thank God the person is used to me, because when the person finished, he now finished talking to him. I was right there, and when he finished talking to him, he just turned and told him, "Oh yeah, ask her now." And he was like, "What? I'm so sorry. I'm like, "I'm right here." I'm the one driver. So people have a tendency that people with disabilities will not understand. They don't have good understanding, or they are not, they won't understand you. So those are some misconceptions. I allow them to do so.
They were not created by God.
And no, it's not even the creation. Like you judge the book by its cover. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, let me say, some people think it's God's punishment. Maybe the parents or forefathers did something. Maybe they were not punished that time. Then maybe their child or their grandchild is being punished by that offense of their parents or their grandparents. That's what I have to say. One of the myths and misconceptions there.
Okay. Yes, please.
Okay. Osaki Teresa George. Some of the myths are the things some people feel like it's contagious. Like if you touch me, that means you will save it. So don't touch her, don't touch her. Or maybe they're trying to play around. I say no, don't. And so some people think that disability is poverty. No matter you are standing on the road with crutches or wheelchair, they don't think that you want to have a life more than that. If you feel that your life depends on just them giving you charity arms without asking you why are you here or what do you want to do, So it's really, really a negative stereotype. People don't see it as anything valuable, and also it looks as if disability is a waste. Person cannot do anything again in life. This one is -1. There's nothing that can come out of this person. Thank you.
All right. Yes, please.
Yes, they think that persons with disabilities they do not have normal relationships. They cannot relate. They cannot have friends. They cannot go into marriage. So that's what they think. Which is not true.
Frankie, let's go to some of those disrespectful terms that people use with PWDs. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so one of the disrespectful terms that we hear a lot, especially for persons who have physical disability, is the term crippled. Crippled is a disrespectful term in the disability community. It's not accepted by us. It is demeaning. Another disrespectful term in relating to persons with physical disability is the word handicap. In fact, that one is with the disability cluster. That word has been thrown out of every vocabulary in the disability world, globally and in Nigeria. So we keep hearing people talking about handicap and things like that. So handicap is another word that is out. Another word that is also disrespectful is when you say a person with disability on a wheelchair and you say the person is wheelchair bound. So that's insinuating that the person is bound to that wheelchair. No. And we'll come to tell you the preferred terms in a bit, but that's a disrespectful term. Another one is the term when you refer to a person who has maybe an intellectual disability as an imbecile. Don't do that. Some people, I like saying, some people even made it funky and we will now say it's imbe. So those are disrespectful terms when it comes to addressing a person with disability. Another one is a person with albinism. You now say is albino, or you now say the person is a white offering. So those are disrespectful terms. Another one is a person who is an amputee, and you now call the person maybe half leg. Those are disrespectful terms, and so that I can trade to them. Another one is when you see a person who has maybe nystagmus, that's where the eye doesn't focus, and you say it's half past, quarter past 4 eye. These are disrespectful terms, and in the disability community they are not accepted, and you would wonder why we're speaking to disrespectful terms. And I'm hoping that later we can really express how the impact of this can how it can impact a person.
Okay. But I'll still come back to you to enumerate some of those words that are appropriate.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, another disrespectful way is dwarf. When you see you call someone a dwarf, we have the right ways to use. Then we have the one we call mental retardation, which is not right. And the other one is call someone a deformity, using that word. Cripple is also not appropriate for a person with disability. And also feeble-minded.
Okay.
Another strong word is abnormal. The normal, it's so common everywhere. They say, as a normal person. Okay, abnormal. You say I'm normal, she's not normal. So it's a really disrespectful word of what you can cause someone with disability. Another one is one leg. Someone that's walking and maybe their leg is not strong. You try to avoid describing the person with a disability, because that's not the person. If other kind of adjective or words and you know how to describe the person. And another one is someone with vision impairment, someone that wears sunglasses. This one's wearing bottle, or blind bat. Someone will not see, those kind of stuff. So these are some of the terminologies I can remember from them.
So if I can add this particular one, there's one that they call by association, and when you refer to a person who is hearing impaired as deaf and dumb. Just to debunk, it's also something we like to debunk. The truth of the matter is that it's not everybody who is hearing impaired that is deaf that cannot speak. So you do not associate the person and add that disability by. They are not mutually exclusive. So it's not deaf and dumb. So if a person is hearing impaired, or if the person is okay with the term deaf, then the person is deaf. So that's where you stick with. So you don't say that man are deaf and dumb. So we try to remove that association with disability. There's so many of these. In fact, we're working in the disability community to try to work on different groups, trying to work on like a lexicon where we try to encourage people to use the right terms to address persons with disabilities. The reality is that why are we hampering on this disrespectful terms is because there's power in words, and words by association make you to treat a person with how you see them. So you see the flow of the conversation. If you have a misconception about disability and you frame it and then you word it, and that's how you address the person, or you speak to the person or refer to the person, the tendency is that you will, by reason of the conception you have, develop a negative stereotype around disability and a person with disability, and you would likely not see that person as a person who has a right. So imagine a person who is an employer of labor, who has a misconception about disability and maybe the work ethic or the ability of a person with disability to actually work. No matter how you come to say, oh, it's my right to work, and then the person with disability merits that the person is equipped, the person is experienced, the person is qualified, because you have that formed opinion about disability in a decision to work, you would not be the employer that would give that person the right that is due to the person with respect to work. And that's why we are bringing out, the power of the mind, which is now framed into words, can be limiting for another person. And when it comes to rights of persons with disability, the truth of the matter is that our society is diverse and dynamic, and we must understand that the over 30 million people in Nigeria who have disability are bona fide part of society. Another reason why it seems as if we're speaking to myths and misconceptions is because if you form an opinion framed by misconception, you will not treat that person as a human first. You would always see that disability, that impairment above whatever the person's value is.
It ends up beclouding your sense of judgment.
Yes, and how you engage with that person. Like she said, it blocks people's ability to relate. It blocks people from being friends. I mean, I tell people that when I had this disability, I lost friends because they were not sure of, and I'm like, it's still me now. So it took a while for them to realize, yes, it's still her, So those kind of things are formed by perceived, perceptions, which we're trying to change today. Any person with disability, this is me, and this is what I will say to you. Just like you would engage, you don't know, do I know you, Maxwell? Nah. But for me to learn you, to know you, I must interact with you. At least come close and know who you are, know your likes and dislikes. That's the same thing. So that's one of the messages that we have today, because it really infringes on the rights of persons with disabilities and how they are treated eventually in society.
Can we look at those appropriate words?
Okay. So
for the sake of education.
Oh yes, we are here to inform, educate. So if you hear the way I've been speaking, I tend to use those terms often, so that it's not like somebody has to learn them. You're kind of used to hearing them. So for us in Nigeria, the disability community, because we use the UNCRPD and the Discrimination Act, we do what we call person first ideology. So you put the person before the disability. Because in other countries, in Commonwealth countries, even in the US, they don't do person first, but we do person first. And what that simply translates to is the preferred term is person with disability. So you put the person before the disability. So in countries where they have adopted the nomenclature where it's not person first, you see they refer to disabled person. So for them it's fine. But here we've agreed that it's persons, not people, not the person, but persons. Persons covers multiple of people with disability. Of course, we talked about how disability is an umbrella term for different forms and types of disability. So we refer to person with disability. Now, coming to the specific types of disabilities, mentioned in the course of conversation, if you think of person first, it helps you. So a person with albinism is better than saying that albino. Okay. That albino is written off, Another accepted term is for any form of disability, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. When you want to group it, the best way to describe is intellectual disability, or a learning disability, because it has to do with slow learning. They're slow ahead, so intellectual or learning disabilities. So you're careful to ensure that you do person first. And I say, when in doubt, to call me my name. It's a good name, it's a beautiful name. So call me my name if you are not sure, So like she said, avoid describing a person by the person's impairment. It's demeaning. Just see that person beyond it. Just to put it out there, some people do not mind, some of the disrespectful terms because they do not know any better. But we're also teaching our people in the disability community to speak to the preferred term. So wheelchair bound, not it. And then you don't speak to disability as an affliction or a curse. Oh, this person is afflicted. You hear the law. Even during the course of the program and our work with persons with disability, we always try to change their language. You are not afflicted. Oh, this thing afflicted me. I say, no, don't see it as an affliction. Because once you see it as an affliction, you begin to tailor the narrative that speaks to looking for how you will now not be afflicted. Okay, and then she said something. When referring to a person who doesn't have a disability, you just say a person without disability. Because once you ascribe the person without disability as normal, automatically you're saying that a person without disability is abnormal. So it draws that line. And finally, to speak on this, there's something that keeps happening within persons without disabilities. They insist that they do not like the word disability. And I tell them that for now, that is the accepted term, disability. What happens is, if you look at history, and we don't have time for history, if you look at the history of disability rights movement, as from the Americas down to other countries, you will see that as people began to frame the concepts of disability to go beyond health concerns, to become public health issues, to become rights-based issues, you would see that the nomenclature continues to change. And we tell them that should it change from disability, we promise we'll come and let you know. But we are okay with being identified. And I tell people that when I'm speaking, I identify as a woman with disability because I use a wheelchair as a result of a mobility impairment from spinal cord injury. That is what it is. So when people now come to insist, I don't like calling people with disability, I prefer to call you, now give it your own name. It's what we call ableism. It actually has a term. It's ableism. So you are insisting on your own narrative. These people are saying, for now, call us this. If we want a change, it's just like saying you named your child. Max, is your name not Max?
It is.
And I come and say, no, I don't want to call you Max. I want to call you Ebony something. No. That's what. So I mean,
Faecare will need to take a break. We'll be right back.
Persons with disabilities value many of the same subjects considered important by others in the society. With the National Disability Act and the elections in Nigeria, there is no better time than now to be intentional about building an inclusive society for all. These are the tenets of a democratic society. Let's change the narrative. This message is brought to you by Faecare Foundation, supported by Disability Rights Fund as part of Disability Rights Initiative projects.
Will the weather become?
All right, welcome back. It's still today 95.1 FM. We're still with Faecare Foundation. The executive director is here, Faecare Sien, and it's the DRIP program. Third Thursday or fourth Thursday?
And here we are. Third Thursday.
Okay. No, the other edition, to me, looks like we did it on the fourth Thursday.
It was still third. It's just that that month had many Thursdays.
So I was wondering. All right, welcome back once again. So if you want to call in, you have questions, you have contribution on the program, feel free to dial 0817 0000951 and 0810-951-0951. Before we go ahead, Faecare, can you just give out your contacts?
My contact?
Yes, we'll do that at the end, but I just want to give it out.
What did they start calling now? You should call your own. So if you want to reach us in Faecare Foundation, let me send you to the social media handles first.
Okay,
at the end, I'll give you numbers.
All right.
Just Faecare is Faecare. So F for fish, A for apple, and E for egg, C for cats, A for apple again, R for rabbit, and E for egg. So Faecare Foundation, our website is www.faecarefoundation.org. And if you go to Facebook or Instagram, just type Faecare, will pop up for you. If you go to Twitter and you
Take this, sorry.
Okay, question.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, good to have you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to the guys, the guests in the studio.
The ladies.
Yeah, the ladies. Please, I wanted to say, I sent a message to the page, the Faecare page, the organization's page. So I didn't get any feedback, and I even called the number you gave last time, like on air. I didn't get any feedback.
So when did you send this message? Because we've been on the road for a bit.
Like I sent it last few weeks ago.
Or somebody responded. It depends on what your message was for. So we're sorry about that. We'll check for your message. But you can also reach us in our email, which is faecarefoundation.info@gmail.com. That's faster. So you can also do that. Or send a text message. It's faster.
Okay, I would love for you to actually put out your phone. I don't know if that's possible.
Yes, she'll give it out before the end of the program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name is Akelu John Chinonso.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm actually a person living with disability and as an advocate also. So I'm following up the program keenly. And there is one thing when people are saying about the misconception, like the names that we are being called. in the highlighted one, they are saying you put the person first. Yes, that is very, very correct, because calling the person according to the condition of that person at that moment. Remember, it's a condition and it can improve. So using only that to see as what the person is just like putting the person, all the days of the person's life as that. Miracle can happen, anything can happen. So you don't just, because of what you see the person there and you want to tag it as the person. So you can say the person on wheelchair, if it is somebody making use of wheelchair, or the person using crutches, or the person with visual impairment. So you don't call blind, or you don't call wheelchair person, or wheelchair band, or crutch person. I think the person was just born with it as the person comes alive. So
thank you.
That is my contribution.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, John. So just to add to what you said, so would like to really encourage us that we should avoid using person living with disabilities, because disabilities, like you rightly said, can be terminal. That can be for life. It could be for long term. It could be for short term. So in the disability community, we just say PWD. We take the L out, so we don't say person living with disability.
Okay, so quickly, how does it violate the rights of PWDs?
Okay, so myths and misconceptions, and I know I've spoken to it a bit, that when you frame opinions based on misconceptions or myths or on true notions, you now have what we call a negative stereotype, and a lot of it is now formed in what we refer to as attitudinal barriers. And there's something so powerful about the mind. If your disposition towards persons with disabilities is in the negative, you would likely at the end of the day violate that person's rights. And let me give an instance. If a parent or a caregiver sees a child with disability as a liability and has formed opinion based on maybe other misconceptions, for example, this child cannot go to school, and many other things, without seeking professional opinion, that child's right to education will be infringed on. That caregiver would never send that child to school. Another one, for instance, is a situation where, and these are instances that have happened, where we just heard something, we took it, we didn't seek any professional opinion, and we ran with it, and we found out that it was not true. Because I met a caregiver or a parent who her child was a teenager, and she and the child were now at loggerheads. So the child had spinal bifida, so she had paraplegia, paralysis from the level of the bifida, the tumor, to down. And because she had perceived that child couldn't go to school, she didn't send her brilliant daughter to school. And because the child was so brilliant, she would be reading, she learned to read, she was very, she was like a sponge. And by the time she became 18, she was not telling her mother, why wouldn't you send me? It became an issue. And that's because the mother had perceived and had been told that, if somebody can tell my parents, focus on the other children in the 21st century, after her death. So, what won't we hear? So, negative stereotype infringe on the right of the person. We've seen situations where a mother would tell her daughter with disability that it doesn't matter who comes, I will not let them marry you. Facts. We're not saying this from, hearsay. These are from focus group discussions, experience sharing sessions.
We're out of time.
Oh no. It's 30 minutes over.
Yeah.
No! Please, do you want to sponsor the programs? I'll be here. Please do. But we understand that, right? Mm-hmm. Where opinions can infringe on the right of a person because of what we perceive to be, and it's not so. So today in the studio, I had Osaki, my program officer for Faecare Foundation. I had Joy Ijoma Davis. You heard their voices at one point or the other. You had Azomta.
Hi.
Yes. We had Azomta. We call her Prof. So you can reach us. Phone numbers, you can reach us on. And I have Maureen. Ooh, Maureen. Yes. So you can reach us on 081 32 002158. However, if you want speedy, because that's the office line, my direct line is 0.
Why are you doing home?
0803. You know why I say home? Please don't do marriage proposal. 08037109285. And our email, faecarefoundation.info@gmail.com. These are quick responses. We'll respond to you immediately. And just to mention that the fact that we work with different target vulnerable groups, offensive vulnerable children, persons with disability, and youths, we also have a thematic area. So if you write to us and you're asking for plenty things and it's not within our purview, we'll respond and tell you that we're not able to do that at the time without mincing words. So thank you very much.
But if there's a proposal, what's wrong with that? The next episode of Disability Rights Initiative program will be coming up every third Thursday of the month. Yes, of course, 12:30 p.m. Thank you, Faecare.
Thank you, Maxwell. Thank you to the FM.
And the wonderful ladies, thank you so much for coming.
Disability Rights Initiative Program, DREAM. Coming to you every third Thursday of the month on Today FM 95.1 by 12:30 p.m. This program is brought to you by Faecare Foundation, supported by Disability Rights Fund as part of Disability Rights Initiative projects. Disability Rights Initiative Program, DREAM, promoting and advancing disability rights.